We're coming into the last year of the crypto bull market. A lot of us are planning to try and make quite a bit of money this cycle, six figures, seven figure sums. And I want to urge you to start the next phase of your crypto journey now before you need it, right? Get a little bit ahead of yourself and kind of plan for the future a little bit. I know this is not more crypto investing, but it's more about the idea of what do you do with the money that you make from crypto. A lot of us talk about, a lot of us have like lower five-figure portfolios, somewhere between like $10,000 and $50,000. And if you 100x that and you turn it into, anywhere from, 100,000 to 1 or 2 million dollars, that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, unless you are in your mid to late 50s, $1 to $2 million is not going to be enough for you to retire in kind of the ideal, comfortable lifestyle that a lot of us have. Um, I've been talking to some people about this, and I think for me, I want to have around $5 to $10 million before I really start thinking about retirement. I get to this number because I'm 26 years old, and whatever money I have, for the most part, I need the money to keep growing. So if I have $5 million and I retire a little bit with that money, over the course of the next 30 years, I need that money to grow to maybe like 10 or $15 million. That would make my retirement much more sweeter, provide a longer runway for retirement, and give me more opportunities. Now, if I had $10 million today, I probably would be in a very good spot to retire, although I don't think I would because I need things to do. But if I had $10 million today and I put that all into the S&P 500, basically I would, the S&P 500 returns around a 10% per year. So every $1 million you have, you're going to make $100,000. If you have $10 million in the bank, you can realistically expect to make $1 million a year on average in the S&P 500. The problem is when you're retiring on this money and you have 10 million in the bank at 26, you can't pull the whole 10% out. You'd probably pull 1 to 3, 4% at the max. So if I had $10 million in the bank at 26, I could pull around $200,000 a year out of that investment and live off of that investment. Now that's a great amount of money. It's a great amount of money for a family, for a single person. But the amount of money does get a little bit harder to use when you have a house and a couple cars and kids and a husband and a wife, right? I would be the husband and I would have a wife. That 200,000 on that kind of normal suburban family lifestyle does get a little bit harder to live on, right? It's still a great amount of money. You can still make it work, and it's a great amount of money to earn to not do anything. But the big question in this video I want to urge you to ask yourself is, if you make $1 million in crypto this cycle, is that enough for you? Is that enough for the current age you are? Is that enough for your retirement expectations? Or what kind of situation are you setting yourself up for? And if you think that $1 million, making you around 50,000 to $100,000 a year is not enough to retire on with some of the things that you want, then you need a second plan. You need something to do. Also, if you're like 20s, 30s, and you make $1 million and you want to retire, you're going to need something to do with your time. So I urge you to think about the next phase of your crypto journey now before you have the $1 million and realize, hey, I should do something, right? I need to do something. I don't want to go back to the 9 to 5, but I don't have enough money to really retire, and I'm stuck in this in-between phase. The last thing I want for you is to get stuck in the in-between phase, because I can see a lot of people who are 30 years old who make $1 million in crypto, put that million in the S&P 500, say you make 100,000 a year, but you can't pull all 100,000 out to spend. So say you're making like 20 to 30,000 a year to actually spend your 2 to 3% of that income, but that right there is not enough to retire on. So you still got to go work your 9 to 5 because you never started a business. I want to urge you to not get caught in that place where you have $1 million in the bank, but you still got to work your 9 to 5 because you don't have recurring revenue. This is great. It's a great plan if you're comfortable with working the 9 to 5 and chilling, but the majority of us don't want to work our 9 to 5. So if you don't want to work your 9 to 5, what do you do? Well, I think there's three big steps here. The first step is, you could make it like 4 or 5 steps, but the first big step is you have to have a massive wealth generating event. For most of us, that's crypto, that's this cycle, that's the next 12 months. We're going to turn tens of thousands of dollars into hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. This is our expectation, this is what we're trying to do. And even if we don't get to the millions of dollars, maybe we'll get hundreds of thousands or just $1 million. We need a massive wealth generating event to increase our net worth substantially. At the same time that this is happening, we also need something to build to provide us with some type of consistent revenue or sales or income. For me, I got this YouTube business. We're, trying to grow it, trying to expand it. I make a couple $100s here on YouTube, but that is still something. That's much better than in 2026 having $1 million and never starting YouTube. Because in 2026, if I have the $1 million, I will have documented this whole journey and I will have already figured out all the do's and don'ts of YouTube. I already have a base of 4 to 5,000 subscribers, and if I make the $1 million, I can simply quit the 9 to 5 and double down on YouTube with this massive $1 million safety net. Imagine if you don't start the revenue stream and you're working the 9 to 5 and you have the $1 million. Now you still got to put in that YouTube work, okay? And you're not going to make revenue for quite a while. So step number one, massive wealth generating event. Step number two is find some way. It doesn't have to be YouTube, but find some way to have an income, to build some consistency, some revenue streams, some side hustles basically. You don't have to have a lot, just one. You could mow lawns, you could pressure wash, you could sell things, you could have your own brand, right? Sell things on Amazon, sell things on eBay, start a YouTube channel. There's all these side hustles to do. And then the third thing is you need to reinvest, redo the cycle, and then really have enough money to retire. And so this is basically like a 2-cycle plan. And it's a 2-cycle plan because I don't think anyone can really retire or will want to retire after one cycle. Especially not if you kind of have the dreams that I do. I would like, a Porsche and a Corvette and a cool house and maybe a boat. And so if I have $1 million, I can definitely probably retire and live quite a while, but I won't be able to have some of those things that I would like. And if I'm 26, there's no point in retiring without some of the things that I would like when I still enjoy working. I like building businesses. I enjoy kind of investing my money and paying attention to the market. So if you like all those things, no real reason to retire. The only thing I would want to retire from is my 9 to 5. Now, another way you can phrase this is to ask yourself, if I made a couple $1 million in crypto this year and I retired after this year, what would I want to do? Whatever your answer to that question is, whatever you would want to do, that is what you should be working on for a side hustle, or that's a great place to start. If you come and tell me, I want to go travel America in a van, or I want to go fishing, why can you not start making some fishing content? Why can you not build a fishing type lifestyle brand? Why can you not start, living or traveling in a van in America just when you have free holidays or time to do that, and recording it and editing and putting it up there? Somebody will want to watch that. Somebody will want to be a part of that brand and be a part of your journey, much like people are a part of my YouTube and crypto journey here on YouTube. And so whatever your hobbies are, whatever you want to do for the rest of your life, if money was not an option, this is where I suggest you to start. Unless you also want to do like mowing lawns, pressure washing driveways, cleaning gutters. There's a lot of things you can do. And I think that there's a great benefit in starting these things before you become rich in crypto, so that when you do become rich in crypto, you have the ability to double down on them. There's also a couple ways you can attack this. If you're old enough, you make enough money in crypto, you could just retire off this cycle. You could also start a business like I suggest, like I have. You could go into real estate and just become one of those real estate moguls and start renting out real estate, renting out apartments, renting out houses. That's a valuable business. Or you could accept that you want to 9 to 5 and chill. 9 to 5 and chilling is basically, let's say you make $1 million or $2 million in crypto this cycle, and then you're kind of just like, I'm done. I've made it. Now all I need to do is work my 9 to 5 so I can pay my normal bills while my 1 to 2 million grows to 10 to 15 million, and then we're set. We're done for life. And so there are multiple ways to attack this thing, but I definitely think everyone should start the next phase of your crypto journey before the cycle ends, before this alt season really kicks off, so that you have something to do in 2026, in 2027, in 2028, if and when we get the next bear market. Bear markets are the time to build. You don't want to be building like at the end of the cycle when you've made all this money. Building during the process or in the bear markets is some of the best advice I could give you. Lastly, I want to look at this from a time frame perspective. Let's say in 2025 you make your $1 million, okay? And then you say, well, I've got $1 to $2 million and I don't really feel like going to my 9 to 5 anymore, but the 1 to 2 million doesn't make me enough to live off of, and you're kind of in this no man's land. Building a revenue generating business could take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. It took me a year to make my first dollar on YouTube, and right now it's, this year, my second year, I'll probably make $3,000 to $5,000 on YouTube. So businesses are not just these things that there are examples where people whip up a business and start making money immediately, but for the first time entrepreneur, it's going to take longer than you expect. The challenges that arise grow you as an entrepreneur, grow you as an individual, and because of that, because it's your first time tackling these things, they do naturally just take you longer than a more seasoned entrepreneur. I could probably go start another YouTube channel and have really good success off my first couple videos, whereas if you've never started a YouTube channel before, those first couple videos are going to be rough. My first 50 videos were rough, right? And so we're just now getting to the point in the channel where the video quality and the message and the scripting and the thumbnails and the ideas are far superior to than where I started. So I say all this, I make this whole video to tell you to start whatever it is you want to do after you make the million, before you make the million. For me, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, always wanted to be a business owner, always wanted to control my own day, control my own lifestyle. And so I work a 9 to 5. I do YouTube in my free time. I, record videos and invest in my free time. It's just something I know I want to do in the future. So I don't want to wait until I leave my 9 to 5 to start. That seems like a recipe of disaster, in my opinion. My ideal goal is to work the 9 to 5, make the million in crypto, put the million into the S&P 500 while we chill out in the bear market, make, my recurring revenue, my interest, my 10% a year on my million, right? And then build this business at the same time that I have the million, at the same time that the million is growing from 100,000 to a million. And at the end of the day, when I have the million in the bank, it gives me a much bigger safety net to double down on YouTube, to share my story, to already have a platform and an audience and the base blocks to really scale this thing much, much further. If you already have 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, document the process of making 100,000 or $1 million in crypto, and then double down on it. It's much easier to get to 25,000 subscribers or 50,000 subscribers than saying, I made $1 million and starting a channel from scratch from zero. So there's never a wrong or a right time to start, but I highly suggest to you to start something now before you make all this money in crypto. Because after you make all this money in crypto, you might think that you've made it. You might think that you have, you've got retirement money, you've got everything in the bank. And unfortunately, it's just not true. It's just not true because the majority of us want a little bit more comfortable lifestyles or a little bit more luxury or just more opportunities to travel, more opportunities to have things that we see that we know we want. And unless you are very comfortable living on, used cars or, a house that you've had or paid off vehicles or Toyota Camrys, not really taking crazy vacations, you're not going to be able to retire on $1 to $2 million. And because of that, you know, I urge you to start something now so that you don't have to keep working your 9 to 5. Because I think a lot of us would struggle to have $2 million in the bank and keep on working the 9 to 5 where we sit in the office all day or sit behind a computer all day. In my ideal scenario, and I'm sure a lot of you, your ideal scenario is to make $1 to $2 million in crypto, put it in the bank, have some side business that we do for a couple hours a week, a couple hours a day maybe at the most, and that makes us a couple $1,000s to pay our bills, and then the 1 to 2 million grows in the S&P 500, and then when next crypto cycle rolls around, we take maybe $100,000, $200,000 of that 1 to 2 million, maybe $300,000 or $400,000, put it back into crypto, repeat the same thing that we did, and try and turn that 1 to 2 million into say 5, 10, 15 million. That is where you really start to get to retirement money. So I kind of hope this makes sense to you. I've seen some people talking on Twitter about how, we're going to retire after this cycle. And honestly, I just don't think that's true for a lot of people. And I think if they do take that mentality, if you do make, $500,000 to $2 million this cycle and you retire, unfortunately, you will burn through that money and run through that money much faster than you think, because $500,000, that's not enough money to buy a Porsche. It's not enough money to buy a $100,000 car, because you need a house or an apartment, right? You need some place to live. You need to pay off debts. You need to set money into the S&P 500 to retire on, and a lot of people just aren't thinking about these things. So 1 to 2 million, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money on paper, and it is a lot of money. I know it's a lot of money, But for the rest of your life, for your retirement, it just is not enough and it's not going to cut it, especially for the lifestyles I know a lot of us crypto bros want to live. I like the simple life. You know, we're sitting out here today, chilling, having a great day here in Texas, and the weather is beautiful. But, you know, I would love like a Porsche 911, a Corvette, and a Lamborghini in my garage. And then, you know, I would need a truck and the wife would need a SUV. So I know what I want. I know what I'm getting into. That's why I started a business. That's why I work a 9 to 5 at the same time. And that's why I do crypto investing. So that when I make the 1 to 2 million, put it in the bank, wait till next cycle, try and turn 1 to 2 million into 10 million, but also build a business to get me reoccurring revenue on top of my 9 to 5. So I have 3 or 4 streams of income coming. I got a 9 to 5, I got a side business, and I got investments. And then whenever I'm ready, I can peel the 9 to 5 off and double down on the business that's bringing the recurring revenue while also double downing on the S&P 500 and crypto investments next cycle. That's my message for you today. If you got any questions about it, drop it down below. I know the math's a little weird, it can be a little complicated, but if nobody's told you that 1 to 2 million is probably not enough for you to retire, especially if you're in your 20s, I'm glad to be the one to tell you now.